Hello friends, hope all of you are doing well. In today's session we are going to discuss about a great American novel, The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Now this novel is very much important for your MEG 11 American novel exam from different perspective, and before we get started, do remember to hit the like button and do consider to join our social community pages because up there we upload regular notifications of IGNO, also the notes of the lectures that we cover in our channel. So do consider to join those pages and be a part of our family. Now the novel starts with one of the central character, Nick Carraway, who decides to move from Minnesota to New York in the summer of 1922 in order to learn something about the bond business. Now basically what he does, he rents a house at the West Egg district of Long Island. Okay, now this place is a place of wealthy but unfashionable people. Okay, the people who are recently rich and they have made their fortunes very recently, and these people also have a very much tendency to display their wealth. So what we see is that Nick's next door neighbor in West Egg is a very mysterious man named Jay Gatsby, who lives in a gigantic Gothic mansion and throws extravagant parties every Saturday night. Now, Nick was very much different compared to the regular people of West Egg because he was educated at Yale, and also he had some social connections from the people belonging from East Egg, courtesy to his relationship from his cousin Daisy Buchanan and her husband Tom. Now here it is shown that Daisy's husband Tom was actually the classmate of Nick at Yale. So what Nick does is that he drives to East Egg and meets these people, and in the process they also introduce Nick to another girl, that is Jordan Baker. Now Jordan Baker is a very beautiful, cynical young woman with whom Nick begins to have a romantic relationship. Further, it is also shown in the novel that Jordan actually reveals certain interesting facts about the relationship between Daisy and Tom. Now here Jordan tells Nick that actually what is happening is that Tom was having a relationship with a woman that goes by the name Myrtle Wilson, who lives in the Valley of Ashes. Now this place, the Valley of Ashes, is a grey industrial dumping ground between West Egg and the New York City. Now after this revelation, Nick travels to New York with Tom and Myrtle. Now here when they travel, it's seen that actually here a party is organized, and this is the place where Tom uses to continue his relationship with Myrtle, his affair. Okay. Now here what happens is that Myrtle begins to taunt Tom about Daisy, and Tom responds by breaking her nose. Now as the summer progresses, Nick was finally invited to one of the extravagant and high profile parties of Jay Gatsby. As I mentioned in the beginning of the novel that Jay Gatsby was a very mysterious person who lived in a gigantic Gothic mansion and used to give very high profile and extravagant parties every Saturday night. And in one of those parties we see that Jordan Baker is also present, with whom Nick was having a romantic relationship, and in front of Jordan Baker, Jay Gatsby confesses his love for Daisy Buchanan. He also mentions that how he was in love with her since 1917 in Lewis Valley, and he spends many nights staring at the green light at the end of her dock across the bay from his mansion. He also confesses the only reason he gives such high profile parties was to impress Daisy, and he also expresses his desire that he should be introduced to her with the help of Nick. But he's also afraid somewhere that if she gets to know that he was in love with her, then she might refuse to meet him. So eventually what happens is that Nick organizes a tea party at his home where he invites Jay Gatsby and Daisy Buchanan, where finally they meet, and after some awkward initial introduction, they eventually get together and their love rekindled and they begin an affair. Also at this point of time it is shown the character of Jay Gatsby, who has a very profilic character, and he was having an English accent and a remarkable sign, and he calls everyone old sport. Now as the relationship and the affair of Daisy Buchanan and Jay Gatsby grew, what happens is that Tom was getting suspicious of them, and in one of the lunch party at the Buchanan house, Tom was able to see a passion in the eyes of Jay Gatsby for his wife, and he was convinced that both of them were having an affair. Now this was really outrageous because he couldn't take the fact that his wife was having an affair with another person, even though he was himself having an affair with another woman with the name Myrtle Wilson. Now here we can see a particular patriarchal thought in the in the character of Tom, where he himself can have an affair, that is quite understandable, but he is not considering, or he is not able to take the fact that his wife can do the same. Alright, so he convinces the entire party to drive to New York, and at the Plaza Hotel he confronts Jay Gatsby about the entire thing. So here we see that Tom, what he does, he alleges, he also put some allegations on Jay Gatsby in front of his wife that he was actually making his fortune by bootlegging alcohol and other illegal activities. Now, what we see is that Jay Gatsby tries to retaliate by saying that even though Daisy was married to Tom, but her love was for Jay Gatsby. But what we see, a particular twist in this novel, is that Daisy refuses that, and she realizes that her allegiance is to Tom, and Tom then gets the confidence and he asks Daisy to travel back to East Egg with Gatsby, because after listening to this, Jay Gatsby decides that he will have no connections with Daisy. Now, after Jay Gatsby and Daisy Buchanan leaves to East Egg, after some time Nick, Jordan and Tom also drive through the Valley of Ashes, where they discover that the car of Jay Gatsby has actually met an accident and it has killed Myrtle Wilson, the person with whom Tom was having an affair. It was also discovered at some point of the novel that actually the car was drove by Daisy Buchanan instead of Jay Gatsby, but Jay Gatsby on purpose took the blame on himself. And this was the point where, Tom took the advantage and he convinced the husband of Myrtle that Gatsby was the person who was driving the car. And George was very quick to drop into the conclusion that this is the same person with whom his wife was having an affair. That means Myrtle Wilson, which was actually not true. Okay, this is actually a manipulation which is going on. And in the passion, what happens is that George kills Jay Gatsby in the pool where he was relaxing. Okay, and he also commits suicide very fatally. Now, after the death of Jay Gatsby, Nick stages a small funeral for Gatsby, where we see that it was hardly attended by anyone. Eventually, what happens is that Nick ends his relationship with Jordan Baker and moves back to Midwest to escape the disgust he feels for the people surrounding Gatsby's life, and for the emptiness and the moral decay of life among the wealthy on the East Coast. Now, Nick reflects that just as Gatsby's dream of Daisy was corrupted by money and dishonesty, the American dream of happiness and individualism has disintegrated into mere pursuit of wealth. Though Gatsby's power to transform his dreams into reality is what makes him great, Nick reflects that the era of dreaming, both Gatsby's dream and the American dream, is over. Now, with this, the novel ends, but you have to understand the conclusion of the novel very nicely, because here we see that why do we call this novel The Great Gatsby is because of the very quality of Gatsby's power to transform his dreams into reality. But again, this was corrupted by money and dishonesty. So even though his intentions and his love for Daisy was very much pure and honest, but in the backdrop of this entire thing, it was corrupted by money and dishonesty. So he compared the life of Gatsby along with the American dream, which was also corrupted by this type of factors. So this is the video, guys. I hope you have got some insight and understanding regarding this very important novel, The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. This is a very important novel for your upcoming exam for MEG 11 American novel. Also, do let me know that if you have any doubts regarding this novel, I'll surely try to address it in some other video. And also do consider to like this video, because if you do that, we can reach a wider audience, and do share it with your friends and peers. Till we meet next time, God bless you and thank you all.